We made it safely back to Colorado. The car is in my garage. You can see it just barely touches the lift there, and then it almost touches the door over there. Let's take a look at what we've got in front of us next. Let's take a look at some of the parts we've got laid out. The first thing is back here. This is the closing panel, and that's kind of the extended version. This is the cheaper version. These were in my boxes of parts, this cheap one, and I ordered this guy because we've got some additional rot kind of up the panel. And I think this is gonna be better, but I'm not sure. We'll see. I got plenty of time to figure that one out. We got a lot of work between now and then, but that's that panel, just so you can start to see how this whole thing is gonna close in. These are the brackets. Originally, these came from the factory with a little muffler, I guess is what I would call it, for the heating system. So the heat comes off of the engine, which is obviously back in here, and it just kind of pipes right into the cabin. So this muffler was put in place, or a muffler was put in place. This is not factory by any stretch. This is just a muffler that the previous owner found, and he put one in on this side already. But you can see it sticks out from these brackets, right? Like the brackets there, the muffler kind of sits proud of that. That can't happen. We can't have that, because then the longitudinal cover won't go on. So I've either got to move these holes inboard a little bit, which I think might be the best option. I was looking at how this aligns. We'll have to somehow offset some things. I don't know. I mean, I can weld pipe with the best of them. So I think we can make that work. I just have to move those holes around. The purists might grit their teeth just a little bit, but I think I'd rather have quiet heat. I know you can shut the flaps, and I'm not gonna drive this thing in the middle of winter. Maybe I will, I don't know. But I like things to be there and be right. Then up front here, kind of looking at how this whole system goes together. There's this big panel that goes back there that kind of holds the fender up, but inside of that is this guy, and he goes right there, like that, and it attaches back to this panel, which we made a couple weeks ago. Fits in here nice. And then I actually made the panel that goes above here, but as I was looking through my box of parts, guess what I found? The piece. So I'm turning it around in my hand here. It fits, and when I put it together with my little patch that I made, it all fits up like super good. The first item up for bid today is this piece that we welded in a few weeks ago. These stink when you get something done and you feel accomplished. When I was fitting this outer panel up, it kept hanging up here. I was like, what in the world is going on? And really, this edge here wants to be that line there. It wants to be flat all the way across. This wants to be a single plane. So I'm gonna have to cut this and weld it back together, just kind of section a little pie shape out of it, and then reform this suspension arm piece to fit back in there. It won't be too big of a job, but it needs to be done. The other side doesn't even exist. Like, there's no pattern there. Some guy tried to weld in like this. There's a lot. So I went ahead and bought that piece because I think it warrants it. And when I looked at it and looked at how these curves came together, I realized that was my mistake. So, let's atone for our sins. Let's make this right again, and let's just start there today. This is the panel, the outer panel for the other side, and you can see how kinky it is right there, like perfectly straight, big kink. Mine, no big kink. So we're just gonna have to put that big kink right there. We're just gonna have to put that in there. Little cardboard aided design here. I'm just gonna trace around this thing. So hopefully I can get the major lines going. Just on the inside of this line. can you transfer enough graphite onto here? I feel like the answer is yes. You guys see that outline there? Not looking too terrible. Just close more. Just do that for now. Not too shabby. Let's go back and cut that. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? I hope so. Pretty close. I've got it lined up as best I can, kinda, with this vertical line here. And it might actually want to do a little bit like that. So that's our corner. And then just kind of trying to be as quasi-accurate as I can be. Let's go ahead and cut this and we'll start fitting everything back together. Getting pretty close to lined up there. Let's start zapping it and we can adjust as we go. Looks like I've got it fitting pretty good. It's tight here, like we wanted it. I kind of bent this just a little bit out while I was working on things. I also pie cut these up here. Somebody dropped it on its end or something. There's just a little damage there. I can weld those things up. But this is our closing panel, how it sits in here. It's looking like it's gonna line up pretty nicely there. Then in the front, like we were talking about earlier, there's this little step here. It comes off of the door sill there and then it steps down. And that's where this piece fits in, and when I fit it up, it fits super nice right there. They all line up. That's pretty good for not having any reference at all. And then when this piece gets involved, it goes like that. It sits, I think it sits just like that. The last piece is this one here. And this is starting to look like it's going to close all this stuff off. Super good too. Yeah, so everything's starting to fit together. This is great. So with our inner rocker, let's call it good enough for now. From here to here, good enough for now. Turning my attention to this thing, and the quick analysis of it is this muffler is definitely far enough that way. You can see that, right? This outside line, no problem, nothing sticking out. So really it's just the top. So I need to drop this circle opening down a little bit. And since I'm dropping it just vertically, I can keep this piece aligned. I just need to drop this. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal to do that. I may have to, I don't know, I'm gonna have to do some magic here. But I think I only need to drop it like, what does that look like? Maybe 1/4 of an inch? It's not that much. So this has got to actually stick through. You can see the offset there. It's got to stick through into the cabin. That's cool. So maybe, I don't know. I don't really want to mess with this part because it's kind of squashed. This part shouldn't be a problem. Maybe,
Right here, I'm using a hole saw as a template to cut out a circle that's offset from the hole that's in this part so that I can rotate that circle 180 degrees and lower the heater muffler down in this piece.
Not too shabby. You can see I made a witness mark on there, and it's basically what I could find as the center line there. So I'll be able to use a square and kind of line that up, and then we'll weld this guy back together. Both pieces fully welded up. Sorry, that is not my best work. I got like 3/4 of them welded and realized that my heat on my MIG welder was at full blast and I couldn't figure out why things were blowing through and I was having a hard time. So this is what we got. I did some pie shapes in there and then I kind of pushed it this way, you know? And it's kind of imperfect right now, but as I get these a little bit better fit up, I'll be able to push and pull those little tabs, and then we'll weld it, and then we'll seam weld it. It'll be really good. I'm excited about that. This back piece is fitting really well. And you know, our mufflers aren't sticking out there. So I'll just have to repeat this on the other side when I get over to that one. But the last little bit that I need to figure out is this. And I had some exhaust pipe bent up while I was in Kansas City. And I think with that angle, it's gonna be real close here. Then we'll be buttoned up with everything in here. Starting to come together. That end looks pretty good. Sorry it's so dark there, but we're really, we're looking good down there. You'll have to trust me. There's a little bit of gap of light, but it's through this center section of the longitudinal, which we'll just have to clamp that as we go. But gosh dang, we are super close, guys. I think that's it for this session. Man, it always feels like I'm just barely getting anything done. But then when I look at it, it's like, no, we're getting there. Anyway, guys, we'll see you on the next one.